If you've ever lost a pet, this episode might be a tearjerker for you. Today, I'm talking about how to communicate with your pets who've passed over into spirit, and I'm sharing my real life stories. So, this might tug at your heartstrings, and especially stay till the end for the very last message. I've pulled some cards from our pets in spirit and asked them what messages they wanted to share with us. So, stay tuned, get settled, and listen in. Welcome to Spiritual and Ambitious. I'm your host, Whitney McNeil. I'm a certified medium and spiritual teacher, and I help spiritual and ambitious souls just like you live your life purpose through your career and attract abundance by connecting into your intuition and spirit guides. Let's get spiritual and ambitious. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual and Ambitious podcast. Today we are talking about how to communicate with your pets in spirit. So the great news is you still can communicate with your pets in spirit. We just sometimes feel like, where do they go? What do they do? A lot of people talk about the rainbow bridge and things like that. What happens? Well, when pets move on into spirit, I want to say to you, and I think you'll really appreciate this, that it's easy for them. Oftentimes, it's just really easy, and that's what happens. It's like, it's no big deal. It's no big deal that I'm dropping my body. No big deal. And when our pets cross into spirit, they get to choose if they want to hang out with us still for a little bit, or if they are going to go on, or if they're going to, when I say go on, that means hang out in the spirit world. And also, if they want to incarnate, that's completely up to them. And every time I have had a pet transition into spirit, it was, I don't care. It's not a big deal, but it's a huge deal for me. And as a medium, I can still see them, but we form such a bond with our pets because we use physical touch to communicate. So when they're in spirit, we lose the body, and so many times we're grieving that body, right? And when they transition, sometimes we feel an empty space in the house, and sometimes we don't. And when we don't feel an empty space, oftentimes it is because they are still there hanging out. When we do feel an empty space, it's because they have fully transitioned into spirit, but they can still come visit. So I'm going to share some of my examples and some examples of other people that I know too. So your pets usually will immediately communicate with you. Whereas people, when they transition into spirit, oftentimes have to go through a healing process, or they have to understand how to communicate through energy. So it's like, I don't know how to communicate with, my loved ones. So I have to learn how to do that. And you know that I always encourage you to talk to your loved ones in spirit through your spirit guides, right? Our pets, though, are already communicating on an energy level here on the earth plane. They communicate with how they feel, and they can sense energy of other people. They can sense vibrations and things of that sort. So it's not too hard for them to communicate. I remember when I had to help my cat transition into spirit, I was so sad. And when I came back home from the veterinarian's office, I saw clearly this spirit guide and my cat in spirit. And they were celebrating because my cat was in a lot of pain and she was going to transition on her own anyway. So I just helped the process. And they were just celebrating, and I heard, "Oh my gosh, you have room for another animal." I was like, this is rude. This is unacceptable. I'm not okay with this. And at the veterinarian's office, as they were putting my cat to sleep, I was holding her in my arms. They had real cats there, like physical cats there, because they were hoping they could find homes for these other cats they had taken in. And one of the cats kept jumping up in my lap, and I had no interest in communicating with this cat. My attention was fully on Luna, who was my cat who passed. And one of the vet techs said, now you have room for this other cat, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, how rude. I was just so irritated. Well, then I started to get these astral bombs, is what I called them. Basically, that cat that saw me there kept visiting me in the astral plane, like astral traveling with my spirit guide. Hey, you need to adopt me. And I would tell my husband, if we adopt this cat, he's going to sleep right here. And my husband was like, absolutely not. This cat is not going to sleep there. It's not going to happen. Well, of course, fast forward, we got the cat and the cat slept right there where I thought it was. But my cat that transitioned into spirit was just happy, was fine, no big deal. Then when my dogs have transitioned, that's a little different. Dogs are different. One of my dogs, and I could tell that he transitioned fully into spirit, but would come back to visit. So much so that sometimes I would move because I thought I was going to step on him. Like I would see him clairvoyantly there. And then my soul dog, my dog that I just love so much, when he transitioned, he didn't leave. He was still here, but he's doing great. And he hangs out with me all the time. And I have my best friend who's a medium. She recently came to the house and said, oh, Ranger's here. I said, I know. And we were hanging out and I could see Ranger hop over to me and I almost picked him up, and she saw him clearly as day as well. And he's doing just fine. Why am I telling you all these stories? Well, I want to share with you different experiences as they've passed over. But the great news is they are still there, and it's really not that hard to communicate with them because they understand the energy. So what do they do in spirit? Well, they hang out with us. They definitely can protect us, and they like to do what they want to do. So my little soul dog is around me quite a bit. My other dog just kind of does what he wants to do whenever, which is his personality. Whenever I've connected in with clients who have lost a pet, oftentimes I will see that they hang out with a loved one in spirit that is part of the family. So usually a family member who has already transitioned will greet and kind of take care of this pet on the other side. And with that understanding, it's nice because you can kind of talk to both at the same time, right? Oftentimes, I'll see them in a very grassy field playing. When I have brought through animals in spirit, I will also see other pets who've passed from the family member. And I've also seen friends that they have made that has nothing to do with what the person is wanting to experience. So what do I mean by that? I used to do readings. So I'd have a client, I'd connect into the animal and spirit, and I would see some other animals that they could recognize. And then there'd be other animals that they had no idea whose they were. And they would be friends. So their friend's dog that has passed, or another animal that your pet has made friends with. So it's so beautiful to know that they're playing and they're having fun. Now, Ranger, my soul dog, he passed at 19 years old. He passed a week after his 19th birthday. And whenever we see him, he is not looking like 19. He is looking happy, spunky, and at his best, just like when loved ones in spirit come through. Oftentimes, your loved one in spirit will come through so you can identify who they are, but they love showing up how they felt they were at their best. Usually in their 30s is what they choose. Not always, but usually that's what I see. Your pet, you're going to identify. So they're coming to you in this happy, joyful way. So after this quick break, I'm going to talk more about pets and reincarnation and other things and how to communicate with them. So stay with me. I'll be back in just a few. As a professional psychic medium, I've done tens of thousands of readings, but I felt a call to move more fully into teaching intuition. But I still get so many requests about doing readings. So while I don't do readings anymore, I have brought in some very trusted colleagues who are now available for live
1-hour readings on Zoom. If you would like to book your psychic medium reading, go to messengerofspirit.com/appointments to see our available readers and schedule your Zoom reading today.
Thanks for hanging in there. We're talking about how to communicate with your pets that have transitioned into spirit. So, you know what I'm getting ready to tell you. You got to develop your intuition. You know that I help you develop your intuitive languages, but that is the main way to communicate with your pet. Now, some other things that you can do is to honor them in your home. So you could have a picture of them. A lot of times people will have their ashes out, which, by the way, the pet usually doesn't necessarily connect with. It's something that you can do as far as having a bed there or something else. Now, you probably don't want to have an old bed hanging around your house forever, but it can be very cathartic after you lose a pet, knowing that that pet might still hang around there, knowing that that pet is with you. Doesn't matter though if you have them or not. Once you clear out your house and all their belongings, if that's what you want to do, they're still going to come visit you. So how do you communicate with them? One way to communicate with them is to ask your spirit guides to bring them through. Another way that you can communicate with them is literally talking to them as if they were still here. So you can do this in your intuitive thought. So in your inner reading voice with the intention that they hear it. Another way that you can do this is just out loud. So I talk to my pets all the time, especially Ranger. I'm talking to him and my husband hears me sometimes, and that's just what it is because I know that he's still in the house. And I was literally telling my best friend the other day, I said, you know, if it wasn't you in the house, people would think I have just lost it. And I said, I just talk to Ranger all the time. And she's like, well, you should because he's here. I'm like, I know. So those can help gain a connection and stay consistent. But another way that they communicate with you is through dreams. For me, in dreams, my 2 dogs will hang out with me to protect me wherever I'm going. And I will oftentimes see other people's animals that have passed into spirit too. Like they're all hanging out together, but I get to visit them. I get to be with them. And this is a true astral visit. So if you've not listened to the Astral Travel podcast episode, you definitely want to do that and talk to your spirit guides. Tell them you would like to go on an astral travel with your pets so that you can experience them a little bit more. They will help you. They want you to have joy in your life. They will protect you. And then when you feel that you have really developed your intuition, which you know I can help you with inside of my program, you can talk to them and see them, hear them, feel them, or know that they're there, depending on your intuitive language. So there's not one language that's better than the other. You might be able to see them, hear them, feel them, or know that they're there. And the higher your sensitivity gets with your intuition, your intuitive language, the better received their messages will be. So clairvoyantly, you might see an image that floats by or an orb, or perhaps you will close your eyes and just see your pet. Perhaps you hear the bark. Or I remember when we had to help our family dog years ago when I was a child transition, we would hear the little clips along the wooden floor. So you can hear them as well sometimes. My husband, he is an owl for sure. By the way, he loves to talk to himself. That is a symptom of being an owl. When Ranger passed into spirit, it was around 5 o'clock, which is always when we fed him. And we heard this bark. And both of us heard it, but Chris more prominently. Oh my gosh, did you hear Ranger? And just so you know, we don't have neighbors. Like we live kind of out in the boonies. So this is not something that would be common to hear another dog bark. Just knowing that you can hear them and feel them. I have felt my animals like a warmth next to me on the bed. My mom, when our family cat, when I was a child, transitioned, woke up feeling my cat walking on her and needing to make a little place. And then you just know that they're there. You can just know in your body might sidestep like, oh, I can't step on my animal. And then you realize, well, that they're not really here. So understanding that these are different ways that you can communicate and perceive, and talk to them out loud. Talk to them, and you can also intend to go on this astral visit with them as well. Tell them how much you love them. Tell them how much you appreciate them. But you always know that I encourage you to do this while they're still living too. The great news is you can do this when they've already passed over into spirit. So I've pulled some cards, and I asked my spirit guides the messages that our animals wanted us to know. I'm going to share those in a moment. I also want to make a note that spirit animals are different than pets in spirit. So I won't get into this topic, but I just wanted to say it out there. There can be spirit animals that you have that you can look more into. And spirit animals are not pets. They're not energies that we have contacted here on the earth plane. They are different animals in spirit that are here to help us. So today we're only talking about pets in spirit, but that is a topic if you want to look more into it that you might want to explore. All right, here are some of the messages our animals wanted us to know. 1, you are worthy. You're so worthy of our love and our devotion. And this is something that I've learned so much. Unconditional love, joy, happiness, be in the moment. Stop overthinking and overanalyzing. When I've received messages from my pets in spirit, and while they were still here, it's live in the moment, enjoy it, don't worry. And I've seen firsthand when they pass into spirit, they don't have any kind of worry about passing into spirit. It's just, oh, I'm here. No big deal. I can still see you and interact with you because I am energy, and energy does not die. And I've been communicating with you through energy with a physical body anyway. So it's not anything different. But you're worthy of our love. And also, you need to be better to yourself. Seriously, too much negative self-talk and stress. Have fun and joy. This card is the sacral chakra. It's about letting go. It's also about those one-on-one connections that we have. And really, it's this worthiness. You are worthy. You see all the orange. This is like, have fun, enjoy. So the next card is the card of the owl, which is nice because that's an animal spirit. Listen to your own inner voice. Stop listening to everybody else. This is that instinct. Animals will listen to themselves. What's the instinct? What is your energy telling you? Listen to you, get in touch with your intuition, and stop being distracted by all the other things. This next card came in, another orange card. So this is so like animals, joy, fun, happiness, play. Let's do these things. This is the card of abundance. Abundance is here. The universe is so generous. Everything that you have in the world right now is an abundance. It's fun. Enjoy it while it is here. Sometimes we think way too much about the future, and this is be in your present moment. The universe has so many wonderful things. Life is short. Don't waste it. Enjoy the abundance that life has to offer to you. And finally, this one really spoke to my heart. This is the card of the closed door. It's time to move on. Don't sit there and mourn me forever because I'm still here. Move forward, enjoy life, get another animal, get another pet, move on. Your animals do not want you to sit there and mourn. They do not want you to sit there and be so sad. They want you to help other animals. They want you to have fun and be in joy. And they're there. They didn't go anywhere, I promise you. They're going to be there. And depending on the personality of your pet, they choose to visit when you want them, and they choose to visit when they want to. So Ranger's with me all the time. Bandit, my other pet, just kind of comes and goes whenever. And cats just kind of come and go whenever. So really don't sit here and squander all the joy and abundance you can give another pet. Really know that it's time to move on. It's okay to close that door. We love you. And you're not doing a disservice to me by moving on. Woo! That one spoke to my heart a little bit. Got a little teary on that one. Okay. So I will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode. Tell me how you're feeling on this podcast episode. Tell me how it spoke to you. Message me on Instagram. I'll drop all the links in the show notes for the free masterclass and for 4 intuitive languages. Until next Wednesday, here's to staying spiritual and ambitious. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And if you loved it, would you please share it with a friend? I would also love your review. And a reminder to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find me at messengerofspirit.com, and you can take the 4 Intuitive Languages quiz and find show notes there too. If you want to connect on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find me at Messenger of Spirit. I'll meet you right here next week. Here's to staying spiritual and ambitious.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.